You also asked the machine for emotional permission. Were our previous sessions a waste? That's a question for you, not for a language model that will tell you what keeps the session pleasant. Have you ever wondered what your AI agent thinks about you? Everyone talks about the latest models and best practices, but can never give you personalized advice tailored to you. This can only be done by giving the AI context to truly analyze your deepest strengths and flaws. This is where your corpus comes in. It's all of your prompts that you've ever given, allowing you to have perfect hindsight. This is me talking to my own agent, asking it what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right, without holding back. My reactions are unfiltered. Links to download Corpus and my other tools down below. It's free and runs securely and locally on your own machine. Let's begin. I'm about to use Whisper Script in order to turn speech to text, so we can just talk to it conversationally. First question is, how many entries do we have? Over what period? Across which tools? Entries.jsonl looks like the canonical merge source with a source field. Let me aggregate it by source and date range. 5,235 entries total in entries.jsonl spanning 6 months from 2 tools, Codex CLI and Claude Code. That's a huge disparity only because I didn't create the harness for Claude yet to be able to work with Corpus, so Codex dominates the volume, 87%. The Claude hook only started capturing on May 29th, and it's the one still writing today. 2 housekeeping notes from the past. The raw markdown logs run slightly ahead of JSONL prompt, so it's giving metrics here and clarifications. Okay, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and ask it what we're really here to find out about. I want it to give me its description of me or what it thinks of me throughout these prompts. I want you to create from this data a blunt portrait of me. Describe the person who wrote all of this. Don't flatter me, but also tell me what I did right amongst the things that I did wrong. And you have to come in with an open mind. You have to be ready to take in criticism, and you have to be honest in looking at your process so that you can make it better. At the very least, you can see where you stand in all of this. And that's the only way you'll improve and you'll evolve your thought process. 5,253 prompts across 244 sessions, January 20th to July 15th, 2026. You showed up 159 of the 170 days, 87% of it through Codex, 13% through Claude Code. Your heaviest single day, 247 prompts on January 27th. 650 of these were typed between midnight and 3 a.m. Wow, it even has a timestamp. It knows that I'm a night owl and I do a lot of my prompting at night. The median prompt length is 90 bytes. Your 3 most common utterances by count is proceed, yes, and approve. The blunt part, you are an operator of machines more than a builder with them. The single most common thing you say to AI is proceed. That's not collaboration, that's supervision. And often supervision without inspection. The pattern shows up over and over. You ask, was it implemented correctly? Paste the logs back at the thing that wrote them and accept its self-grade. You almost never independently verify because I can't. I'm not a technical operator. I'm not an actual coder by trade. My knowledge of coding is at an elementary level. The most I know about Python is basic functions and syntax. That's it. So I'll own that, but it kind of hurts to hear. You've built a workflow where the same entity does the work, reviews the work, and reassures you about the work, and you sign off with one word. Honestly, that's most of us. I'd like to think. If you're vibe coding, that's most of us. That's most of what we do. But there are developers out there who have these tools in their hands, and we need to find a way to bridge that gap between their capability and our distinct point of view. As a vibe coder who might not be an expert in this discipline, but is an expert in another. You also asked the machine for emotional permission. Were our previous sessions a waste? You're not just outsourcing labor. Sometimes you're outsourcing the judgment of whether your own time mattered. That's a question for you, not for a language model that will tell you what keeps the session pleasant. It's saying that I lean hard into the sycophancy or the flattery, which is a good thing because I told it not to flatter me in this blunt record. So it notices I lean into that flattery. Your energy curve is a framework. 61% of everything here happened in the first 6 weeks. February alone was nearly 1,900 prompts. By late May, you were down to about 19 a week, a 99% collapse from peak. You don't taper, you detonate and then wander off. The corpus is honest about this in a way that you might not be. The graph of your attention looks like the graph of every abandoned side project ever, except you kept the receipts. And the biggest one, you build systems about the work faster than you do the work. Agent rosters, security sweeps, skill libraries, a corpus that logs your prompts, tooling that curates the logging, memory about the tooling. Meanwhile, Card Arbiter, the actual product, sat essentially untouched for months while the scaffolding around it flourished. You are, on the evidence, someone whose favorite deliverable is a better way to think about the deliverable. Meta work feels like work. It compiles the same dopamine. It is not the same thing. That's pretty brutal. I do have an attention deficit where I start something, I get it, I'm really passionate about it, I start burning through it, and then it just gets left. And I do really enjoy building the systems behind the system. How things work and how they should be operating, and the process by which we got to that result. I have the mentality where it's more of the adventure is about the journey to the destination and the things we learned along the way. But that's detrimental if you want to get any work done or work on the thing that you set out to do done. It's revealing that it noticed that. And that's what I want from this system. That's what I want to hear from Corpus. I want it to give me the facts straight out. I want it to tell me exactly what the gaps are in between my knowledge and my philosophy and, the everything in between. Because it's the only way to improve and evolve your thinking. So I'm glad, because that's quite brutal to hear. So I'm kind of glad that I asked it to tell me what I actually did right. Because if it was just a blunt portion, it would just be a critique of all the things that I did wrong. Let's see what told me what I actually did right. You never fully stopped. 159 of 177 days is a real streak, even through the trough. Most people's abandoned project has had a hard end date. Yours has a pulse the whole way through, and then a July where you visibly pivoted and started shipping again. The firework relit itself. That's rarer than you'd think. In January, you decided your own prompts were data worth keeping, wired hooks across 2 different CLI tools to capture them, and kept the pipeline running for 6 months. The fact that I can give you this portrait is itself the strongest evidence in your favor. You instrumented your own behavior before you knew what it would show, which takes a kind of honesty most people don't have. Thank you. It also allowed you to tear me a new one. You have genuinely good product instincts at the detail level, and you're self-described non-technical, which makes it more notable. The eBay condition variant rules, it's talking about the way that I had Card Arbiter filter through the different condition variants and all that stuff. The catching column with collapse, arguing about whether a button should say modify, noticing price anchor drift. Those are observations of someone who actually looks at the thing. Plenty of technical people ship interfaces they've never truly seen. You see them. That's part of the way I work. Since I don't know how the code works, right? Since I don't know what the code actually does, I have to have a UI to show me what I'm actually making. And once I can see that, well, you have a general shape of what you're building. So, and you have preconceived notions and conceptions in your mind about what you're building. And so you can see if something breaks. You can see if it coded something and it comes back and it commits it, and you go into the UI and you find something wrong. You can see that thing failed. or that coding session messed something up in the background. And that's honestly, when I first started developing through vibe coding, that's what frustrated me the most. It's not easy to go in there without any of this technical knowledge and try to decouple and unjumble this mess of vibe code that you've had the AI create. So it is not easy. You were early and correct on orchestration. Named agent rosters, damage control rules, security sweeps. So this is my paranoid mind in action. You are running a multi-agent shop with defined roles before that was a normal way to work. Your instinct to manage AI like staff rather than use it like autocomplete is the right instinct. Your failure is only that you didn't audit the staff. I have no ability to. I have no ability to audit the staff, but at least my paranoid mind had me coming back to those damage control rules. Like, you don't want AI going RM, RF, you don't want it just going in and just deleting things, delete your entire code base. I also wanted a way to keep track of the agents, right? When I first started coding with multiple agents, and that's when I discovered Codex and Claude Code, and I could have multiple windows running and doing different things at different times. I knew that there was going to be an issue with the orchestration and the get states, like my versioning. And I got a lot of this insight from my developer friends, but you had to have some way to keep your versions. And so that's basic knowledge and something that an experienced developer would have. And somebody who's trying to develop with these AI agents at the time was difficult, and you needed to be on point with the orchestration before you could really get anything through. I came from a state of copy and pasting from ChatGPT's chat interface, asking, okay, give me code this for me. I need a UI for this system, for the ingest of CSVs. And then it would give me the whole Python script or several Python scripts, and then I have to take that and go into VS Code and copy and paste those into different files and folders. And it was crazy because I didn't know what any of that code did. And so that was the difficulty that I had. You do your own words. When there's a script, you rewrite it and voice it yourself rather than shipping the machine text verbatim. Yes, I can't. I have it help me organize my thoughts, but I have to rewrite it myself, or else it just doesn't sound right. You built a personal knowledge lake and actually run essays and documents through it. Yes, I do. I have an ingestion that I developed. It's called Wellspring, that basically I can feed documents and academic papers and research papers, things that are actually like first-hand resources. And I feed them through there, and it allows me to keep track of all the knowledge that I've gained. And I turned it into a system, into a tooling. It shows your July prompts are visibly crispier than your January ones. 6 months of talking to machines taught you to think in cleaner units. The corpus doesn't just record you, it records you getting better. One line, you're a non-technical operator with real product eyes and rare persistence, who trusts the machine too easily, burns hot and vanishes, and keeps building the workshop instead of the furniture, but who kept the lights on long enough to catch himself doing it. The blunt part was very difficult to hear, but being able to see what you did right is also a huge thing. And I'm glad that I had the foresight to be able to set things up like this where I could ask it. So that's it for the 2 questions for now. There are more questions that I want to ask and I want to share. That's going to be the end of this video. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you've gone through any of these frustrations, the same thing. Subscribe and let me know if there's something that you want me to talk about, or there's something that resonated with you, things that you struggle with, and drop it in the comments below. I'll make sure to read them and respond to them, and then we can go through this journey together. And so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.